Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today we are going to be making a new home card using this gorgeous Lily of the Valley stamp. I made a card with this years ago before I was filming anything, so I've been wanting to make another card using this stamp on film to share with you guys, so I hope you're going to enjoy. But just before we get started, let me just say apologies for the delay in this video. I'm afraid it's nothing more than just time got away with me, and I'm very sorry about that. So we're starting off by stamping using the Memento ink and onto the Copic cardstock, because I'm going to be using Copic markers, but obviously adjust that according to what you're intending to colour with. Now, I spent some time choosing some pattern cardstock that I wanted to use, which is unusual for me because I normally colour in and then worry about what colour pattern cardstock I'm going to use and think, I haven't got anything to match. But this time I was good and I remembered to do it the right way round. So I spent some time finding that and then finding colours that complemented that cardstock. So we're starting off here with the little sofa, and I'm going to be doing it in two colours. So you can see here, I mean literally two colours. Obviously each colour is got two tones in it as well because I'm doing shading, and you can see it's very simple to do, but it does make a big difference. Just do a little bit of dark where you think it might be a little bit darker. To be honest, don't get too hung up on it. It's quite a small stamp, sort of where the creases are, sort of where the sort of cushions go under, that would obviously be darker, so make those a little bit more of the dark than the rest. So I didn't show you every single square because, you know, that gets a little bit dull, but so I finished off all of the sort of pinky tone, and then I'm going into this lovely taupey sort of caramel sort of colours and doing that as the opposite squares. And as I say, all these colours are going to go really nicely with my patterned paper. Now I've sped this up just by 2 times just to make it a little bit quicker, because otherwise colouring just goes on forever otherwise. But I think you can see it's very simple to do, and just adding that little bit of shading really does make a difference. But if you don't want to do that, then just do it simple and plain, and it's no big deal. The advantage with the Copics is that especially on the Copic cardstock, or Nino's very good as well, is that it does blend really, really nicely. So what I then did was I chose some sort of colours for my little critters here that again complemented the cardstock. And you can see, first of all, because they're so small, I can literally do all the darker areas in one go. So on my little mouse here, I'm just going round with the darker colours, like where the top of his ear and the top of his paw would be under the sofa. That's going to be darker, so I'm doing that. And obviously underneath his little bottom there, that's going to be darker because that's underneath, and so it'll be slightly darker. Now this one, you can see there's quite a contrast, so you can either blend that a little bit more, or you can leave it as a bit of a contrast. It does also tend to soften down, so it's often quite worthwhile waiting and seeing how it sort of softens down as well. If you think it looks a little bit harsh, just give it a minute and see. Now this one, it looked quite good when I tested it, the two colours. It looked like they would be quite different, but actually, as you can see, when I put it down, they were very similar. But rather than change it, because they did complement each other really well, all I did was layer it, and then I used the lighter colour and I just literally dotted along that line where the dark met the lighter colour on that second coat, just to blend that in, and that almost creates like a third colour. So you've got the lightest colour, you've got that mid-tone, and then you've got the darkest colour. And so you can sort of overlay your colours and you get a really nice effect, and it's sort of subtle but still there. And I think that does make a difference to it, just giving a little bit of dimension to your drawing. I think it just it's not too difficult to do, especially with something small like this. You can give it a go, and if it doesn't work, it's not going to be the end of the world. If you haven't got it quite in the right place or whatever, it's not a big deal. As with the brown bear, again, this one, it was a little bit pale. The difference between the two colours wasn't too strong, so I'm going to just double back over that darker colour and create it just a little bit more shading on that. I think it looks quite good, the colours, so that's why I didn't want to go and find, because you could have gone in and got another pen and made it darker, but I felt like just going over it again, as with the brown bear, it was going to be perfectly fine. And again, don't forget that it will soften down as it dries, so what you need to remember if you're not used to alcohol markers is that the alcohol itself even if you just used a clear alcohol pen, it creates a darkness to the cardstock, so that evaporates and leaves the colour of the ink, and then therefore makes it look lighter. So again, just using the colours that I had kind of already used in the actual main drawing. So here we're going for the grey. I did add a darker colour for the little buttons there, and you'll also see that I've gone over the TV just in that corner there, just to create a little shading. You almost don't see it, and that's actually, believe it or not, it doesn't look it, but that was actually a clear pure alcohol blender pen, just blending that edge out. But by putting that in the corner of the television, again, it just adds some dimension. You almost don't consciously see, but you kind of see it subconsciously, and you notice that it's got that dimension. This plant, again, you can go really sort of quite aggressively different with this. You can see the two greens are very, very different, and I just blobbed a bit of the one colour in the middle, and then I went back again to really give it some dimension and some difference, because I was going for like a variegated leaf, so it could be quite starkly different, and I think that looked fine. Now on the little grassy bits here, I used the sort of greenier green of the two under their feet, and then I went over it a little bit with the other sort of more grey green, shall we say, and also to the side of it, and that softened that greeny colour, and also you just sort of trickled out the grassy green to the sides as well, but it was a lighter colour, so it kind of looked sort of just gentle and just not too over the top, but it just gave a grounding to our creatures. And you'll see here I'm using the green on the little lamp, and also I remembered that I hadn't gone in and done anything to the clock face, so I went and did that. I then got actually a real pale green for the lampshade, same as the green that we used for the plant, that pale green. I went in to do the dots and I used the wrong end of the pen, so it went a bit blobby, but it doesn't matter, it's no big deal. I mean, you know what, it's fine. And I just created a green sort of lamp, because I was trying, as I say, to keep within that family of colours. So then we went for a green cup here, again just using those two same colours. However, for the next bit I did really feel it needed something, and in the cardstock there was like another slightly pinkier tone, and so what I did was I mixed it with this sort of one of the pinks that we'd used in I think it was obviously the darker pink, but with also sort of like a really pinky pink, and it completely changes the look of that darker pink, but it still is within that family, so it kind of works. I did have a little bit of leakage down the bottom there, so I just went round with the darker grey. I felt like it worked anyway, and it just covered that up. And then finally I did exactly the same colour, just bringing that pink down into the cup. I think that just gave it some balance, and there it is done. I think it's so cute. I really love this image from Lily Valley. And then we're going to be moving on to the actual card itself. So I've got these lovely card bases from Anna Griffin that are in cream, and then this gorgeous patterned cardstock from Kanban, which I sort of, the reason I liked it was kind of like this sort of old-fashioned kind of wallpaper that you see in these really kind of old-fashioned kind of granny houses, and I just felt like it kind of really worked. When you move into a new home, you quite often have it where it's kind of all old-fashioned and you need to do it up, so it was kind of just like that image in my head. So what I did was I cut it down to the sizes as marked onto the video here, but rather than actually cut it to the 7 inches, I actually just left it the full width and then stuck it down and then actually cut it with scissors. But I've put the actual dimensions down just so you know, but I thought it's actually easier when you're doing it to the actual size of the card to do it like this, because then you absolutely get it to the right size. Because sometimes the cards, although they're supposed to be like 7 inches across, they're just slightly out, and it literally only needs a fraction and it suddenly doesn't look right. Next, I cut a thin sort of border stroke panel. I say border stroke panel because it's actually going to go in the middle. That's sort of a cream with a little tiny cream dot on it. It's very sweet. And again, although I put the dimensions on, I'm doing it the same as I did before, where I'm cutting it to size. But while that's drying, I did cut a piece as per the dimensions on the screen, just to go on the inside. Again, it doesn't do a lot in that you can't see much, but it does add a little something. It connects the front to the inside, but also you've adding quite a few layers to the front, and although this is good quality cardstock, suddenly the inside, the back piece, feels really light compared to the front piece, so it's always worth adding that extra to it, I feel. So then I cut my little image out using these dies, and I just thought it was just a nice little rounded shape. It worked really well, and just putting some foam on the back of that. So I got that ready to go. So we're just getting bits ready to go. So then the next thing I wanted to do was add this gorgeous crochet ribbon onto the front. Again, it's just adding all this kind of slightly old-fashioned kind of textures and patterns, etc., just to kind of give it that kind of feel that you get from a new home sometimes, where it isn't kind of, as I say, moderned up and stuff. And so I think that just worked really well. So I cut it to size, and then I kind of sort of roughed the edges up, and then any little long strands that you, as you pull, some of the bits get a bit long, I just snipped those off. So it still looked kind of a bit rough at the edges, but it's because you don't want it perfect. And then I cut a piece of this lovely pink grosgrain ribbon, and you can kind of see where I'm going with that. So again, we're prepping all the elements. So like taking a scrap of the cream card that was left, I stamped this cute little sentiment on there using this lovely Altenew ink, which matched perfectly with my colours on the cardstock. And then again, using the other set, there's an A and a B in the Spellbinders Batting Basics, and I used one I used A or B for the image and A or B for the little sentiment, and I can't remember which way round it was, but as I say, it was both of those were used. So then now for this bit, for sticking your ribbon down, you can either use some hot glue gun, or just as I've done, just put a big blob of the glue in the center. Now I only did it in the center. I don't want the glue, don't forget, you don't want the glue coming through where it will show outside of your piece of card that's going in the middle, because otherwise you're just going to look really, really horrible. But this bit, obviously, the pink ribbon is not such a big deal because it's solid, but it's with the crochet ribbon, you don't want to make it go too far out past where your image would be, because as I say, it would look really terrible if that happened. Also, it's quite nice being not stuck down completely. It has quite a nice effect. Again, slightly just sort of a shabby chic kind of look. Now, as always with foam tape, I do like to put the wet glue on for no other reason that it just holds it firmer. Foam tape does tend to lose its stickiness in central heating after a while, so I tend to like to put that wet glue on to give it the extra strength. So then I'm adding some stick pins. I just put, again, you could use some hot glue gun if you wanted to put them on first before you put that colouring piece on, but I find it easier to pop them in afterwards because I can see where I'm putting them. So I just did that and popped them in using a little bit of glue on the end of them. Now you'll see on this one I've got a bit of a foam tape at the top of this sentiment there, and one foam tape across all of that side, and then one corner has no foam tape at all, and I've just put wet glue. And that's because it's partly going, you'll see it's partly going over our image, and our image is already raised up, so we don't want more foam because it would make our sentiment kind of wonky. I'm doing all hand signals, which is not usually helpful to you. When I'm doing a voiceover, you can't see my hands. But anyway, so then to finish it off, I just thought it would look really just a little cute kind of extra to add a little bit of glitter glue to the TV and the clock there. The other option, which I used last time when I used this image, was I used the crystal, the see-through stuff. I can't think what it's called. Anyway, like glass. It dries like glass. I can't think of the name of it. My brain's gone blank. And then to finalise it, I just thought it would be nice again just to add a little bit of shimmer to it. And I found these lovely hunky-dory glitter gems things, sticky things that are really, really sweet, and they matched perfectly with our image and colours and everything. So that is it done, and I think it looks really, really nice, and I hope you do too. I was really pleased with how it came out. It was quite different in the colours and everything to what I did before, but I'm really, really pleased with it. I will put a picture of the other one as well on the blog post, so there'll be photos of this and photo of the other one, the original one, if I can find it, and details also of the colours used. I'll put photos of the colours used as well, so you can see what they were. Unfortunately, now I will not have the links anymore. Any previous video blog posts that have links to products will still be operational, but the current ones from now on will not have that. It just proved too expensive, and I decided that I would need to cut that one out. So I hope you don't mind, but otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked the finished card. Apologies again for the delay, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.